Hi, Rabbi David.
Good morning, Joseph.
This is very exciting. Perek Daled.
Perek Daled.
Beginning of Perek Daled, Psika Aleph.
Okay, so Perek Daled, first paragraph, very exciting. As Rav Kook mentions, this is the main part of the book. The first three chapters we're talking about different types of tshuva. And now we said the main thing is tshuva sichlit, and tshuva, understanding what tshuva is, the highest form of having a bigger understanding of life and what it's all about. And now we're going to get in there. So the title says HaTshuva HaPratit Dit, an individual tshuva, VaTshuva Klalit, for the people, HaTziburit, Va'olamit, and for the whole world, Ba'olam Ubeknesset Yisrael. And I think through his book, Rav Kook splits it up. There's three types of tshuva: for an individual, the Jewish people, and the world itself. All three are doing tshuva. And we're going to get into it right now in chapter 4, paragraph Aleph. Shoftim heim zarmei tshuva. Shotfim. They are, how would you translate shotfim?
Like they flow, the currents
They
flow.
flow, it's shotev, the current flows. Zarmei tshuva, the currents of tshuva. Pratit v'klalit, individual and as a klal. Dimyonom, and we're going to compare them, Kegalei shalhavot shal guf hashemesh, like the waves of the flames that are on the sun. Asher b'melchemet ad, is like an everlasting war. Hemit partzim bolim, they're constantly exploding. Just imagine the sun with all those explosions of the heat coming off, that massive heat. Veim notnim chaim lahamon olamim, and it gives life to endless worlds, litzurim ein sforot, and to creations with no limit. And it's very important to understand here, we're comparing it to the sun, which is a huge force in our world. We could see it from millions of kilometers away, and it gives life to our world, to every single thing in this world. The sun gives light, even though it's so far away. And it's constantly, I imagine it, my imagination has it like these like, sometimes they're bigger waves, this tshuva concept keeps coming off, smaller, bigger, and it's constantly sending out its waves to us here on earth or wherever you may be.
Yeah.
And it's extremely hot, and we run away from it, but it also gives us life constantly.
Yeah. The way I think about the analogy is like the source of energy. The sun has it has energy. It creates heat. It creates light, right? And when you think about physics, and so that's like an analogy of spreading energy and life. Energy is life, right?
Right.
Our world is dependent on the plants, and they can't grow without sun, and so
we can't live without sun.
Right? We can, yeah. And so without light and without the heat and all the different things, that there's basically a very big dependence on this energy. And tshuva is like a ball of energy that's making the world live, develop, and live.
100%. And just so we can understand here, like tshuva is a force that's alive, and it's real, and it's, we speak about on a shama compared to the guf, so like a more inner place, and tshuva is more pnimi, it's inner than everything else. It's a force inside the whole world, like it's the deepest, was created, Chazal tells us, 2,000 years before the world was created, before our world was created. So it's very deep. We're not speaking about time, but very pnimi, very inner, and therefore it's coming actually, we're imagining like the sun from the outside, but it's actually coming from within, within the world, at a deeper level, and its rays are coming from the inside to outside. Just the parable, the best parable, as we compare God's light always to physical light, because it's the most spiritual thing. So here we're comparing it to the sun, but it's coming from within, this world, this force which gives us life from deep inside of us. Ein koach, we don't even have the strength or the capabilities, the kelim, liklot et hamon arav shel hatzvaim, the tremendous amount of colors, harabim asher l'shemesh hagdola azot. Right? You can't look at the sun. We know we can't look at the sun. You can't look at it for a minute. Your eyes will go. And so too, tshuva's got so much going on. We have to explain what it is, but tshuva's got so much colors and so much force. Hamiyira lolim kulam, and actually supports and gives life, like you said, to the whole world, to all the worlds. We say all the worlds. We should just mention that, Kabbalistically, the original building of the world is like an onion, one layer. We're in the most outer layer in our physical world that we live in here. But there are many worlds that created, as the Talmud tells us, destroyed in order to get finally to our physical world from godliness, from the original Elokut. So it gives life to all these worlds, all these dimensions. Shemesh HaTshuva. And this Shemesh is the Shemesh of Tshuva. This is an analogy. Mifnei Shitfam Ribuim, but it's constantly happening. The Tshuva is constantly flowing onto us, and it's so much of it coming out all the time. Mipnei Mihirutam Anifla, it comes out fast and wondrous. Mipnei Shem Bayim, why is it so much and so strong? Because it comes Mimakor Chaim Ha'atzmam, from the source of life itself. It comes from Elokut itself. It's so much closer to godliness than anything else. As we mentioned, in time, 2,000 years before the world, and very pnimi. And therefore, it's very powerful, much more powerful than the sun, which we know how powerful the sun is. We know how powerful an atomic bomb is, and the atomic bomb is nothing compared to the sun, and the sun's nothing compared to the sun is just a creation in this world compared to Tshuva. So we're talking about a very big entity or force.
Right. I think that this analogy is like so precise and so interesting because you think about, like, we're talking about a spiritual power, and someone could say, okay, I understand that. Let's say, think about the sun for a second. Yes, somebody tells you, like, you can't deny the sun. The sun's there, super powerful. You can't deny it. With that, you can't deny it. You can't really grasp its power, meaning like you feel the heat, you see the light. But all of the natural life and the world's dependence on the sun, and how the sun is like almost like a source of life for this world, and how the whole world is and its sustenance is based on the sun. Like, we don't experience in that day in, day out, right? Like, you wake up outside, you can't understand, you don't, like he's saying, you can't see the different colors of the sun. I mean, it's not tangible to us on like a day, like on a moment of on an experience of our life, that it's something that we can actually grasp. So, and that's because it's so strong. It's way stronger than something that we can accept. So same thing with tshuva. Is someone says, okay, you can't deny that the world is moving forward. The world is dependent on tshuva because, like, you see the world and the way it runs. Like, you can't deny the sun, but at the same time, you can't really you can't like put your finger on it because it's like so powerful. And I think
Study the sun,
right,
understand
exactly.
it, right?
So then there's like a step. There's something there
You
that
definitely can feel its power. You know how strong it is,
right,
just a little bit.
exactly.
Yeah.
But you do need to do like you need to go into a lab, and you need to be a scientist to figure out, to explain exactly how the sun influences the world. And so the same thing here, I think, tshuva, it's like you need to go into a lab, you need to think, you need to focus, you need to learn about it, you need to think about it to then actually understand how it influences and recognize its power in a more particular idea.
Nice. So, right, you mentioned something which I think we jumped the gun a little bit, which is that moving us forward, which is that once you brought it up, I think we should talk about it, which is, he's going to bring out, in this entire chapter, what are these rays doing? What are these tshuva rays doing? They're actually moving the world forward, is what you said, right? Maybe not the world forward, I would say, but, tshuva, returning the world. It's a force that's bringing us back. Well, it's forward and backwards,
Yeah.
right? It's forward. We're advancing to get back to the source, right? That's what tshuva does. It's like this light that's pulling us back in, pulling us back to the original place, which is what we could call moving forward, right? Moving the world to its perfection, to its godliness, getting us back from the word tshuva. Shuv means to return, right?
Right. Like, in some ways, it's fixing the world and that's moving forward, but it's fixing the world to the place that the world was in before Chet Adam HaRishon.
That's right.
Going back to the ideal world that was before the sin.
Right. Bottom to top, going back up. So he says here, Hanashama.
I think we skipped a line. I think we didn't finish the sentence before that.
Okay.
Shazman ba'atzmo.
Shazman ba'atzmo. Time itself, hurak echad tavniyo. Time itself is a structure, hamtzumsemet shelo. Meaning, if time itself is a creation of this world, and if we said that tshuva is the pnimiut, it's the source of life for everything in this world, that means it's the source for time itself. So even time, which is this, amazing concept that we live in, it itself gets powered by tshuva. It gets its life force from tshuva. Therefore, it's above time. It's pre-time. And then we said it predates time, 2,000 years before the world, but also predates time in that it has the ability to, cross time limits. I think we spoke about last week that if, you could change the past, if your tshuva, spans through all time.
Right. Yeah, I was debating how to understand the sentence. Like, first of all, it's like, is this sentence talking about the sun or about tshuva or both? Right? Because also the sun,
It's faster than the speed of light.
and
Yeah.
also it has an intertwined with the idea of time. But I think it's talking about tshuva. I'm leaving the idea that it's talking about the sun, but it's talking about tshuva. And is it saying something that time is an expression? You explain that time is like a measurement or an expression of tshuva in the world in a positive way. And I understood originally as that the time is like making the tshuva bound in this world, but it's also making it smaller, meaning it's controlling it. Meaning,
I hear you saying
like
that.
part of the reason why we don't experience it as Rav Kook said it is because
Mm.
in the world there's all these different structures that make this light smaller.
It holds true.
Which
Time holds tshuva. But at the same time, if time is holding it, it's a kli for it, then tshuva is the light from within it, and it's stronger than time itself.
right, exactly. So maybe it's both. Meaning,
And if you look at time as a structure, which is or a kli that's holding tshuva, one of the things that holds everything here is holding the light of tshuva in it. Everything in this world is a kli for tshuva's light. So time would be holding its light and constricting it to a certain area as well.
right,
But that also means that that tshuva is the life force of time itself, which means
right.
that tshuva has the ability to work within time.
But it also is beyond time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, at least it's beyond the concept of like past, present, and future. That concept it could travel within.
Let's try to explain that.
Well, I look at time as like a kli, but not just the present, the past, present, and future. All of time is a kli for it.
Like our capability to perceive the process of moving forward is dependent on the fact that there was something and now it changed. And that's we perceive that through the time lens of time, meaning the past looked like at this level, and now the future we're over here. So now we can recognize tshuva. We can recognize that process. If it wasn't for time, we wouldn't be able to recognize it.
That's a nice way of saying it as
Right?
well. Yeah, time is helping us to understand the process of tshuva.
Right. And in some ways, we're
And
like minimizing the tshuva because tshuva is there, even if we don't recognize past and we move forward in the future.
mm,
But also, if it wasn't for time, we wouldn't be able to recognize it because we ourselves, the way we live and the boxes that we fit into, as this light is minimized into these boxes, we're dependent on that perspective.
Okay, for sure that
Okay,
works
so
as well.
I think I got somewhere in my understanding.
For sure that works as well.
Okay.
Where are we up to?
Haneshama.
Neshama yechidi v'tzibur. The neshama of an individual and the neshama of the tzibur, we mentioned all the neshamas together are also an entity. The world and all the different worlds. Kilivia, it's like a lioness that is so eket, it's crying out bechavle in its ropes and its change letikun gamor. We all want the tshuva and the fixing. That's really who we are, where we want to go to. We want the perfection, the perfect state of where we once were, before we came down to this lower world for good reasons. We feel the pain that we're far away. Every human being, if he doesn't feel he knows there could be a better place. He knows there's more potential. He knows that every person knows they could be a better person. They say we're only using a certain part of our brain, a certain part of your potential. We know there's a better place. This pain helps clean us out.
Yeah,
Purifies us. Like salt, tabasar, sweetens eventually the meat, even though it's a little painful in the beginning. Mamtik sweetens our bitterness. And, I think of it as well, like the sun, sometimes you could hurt, it's painful. Or sometimes you take something and it's painful. You see some light and it's painful, but we know that it's good for you. That pain ultimately heals a person. It's painful. You put the alcohol on your burn at first and it's a little bit painful, but ultimately this is what's healing us. So when I know there's a better place to be, it's a little hurtful because I don't feel so great that I'm not there. And it's a little hurtful because I know I got a lot more work to do and it's going to be some painful work in the gym, wherever it may be. But ultimately it's a sweetening agency. It's helping me get to the better place. So we can feel the pain, but that actually sweetens the situation. You know, when you have tshuva, you know there's a lot to go, and I haven't been in a great place.
Mm-hmm.
But that is actually a beautiful thing. No one wants to stay in the status quo where they are.
Right. Definitely. I don't know how deep to dive into the idea of the neshama of the individuals and of the tzibur roaring like a lioness, but I think that there's a big lesson here, which is that, like, Rav Kook's writing this, and what's he thinking about when he thinks that the neshama tziburit haolamit, like, he's looking at the world. He probably wrote this in the early 1920s, right? He's looking at the world, and he says the soul of the world is screaming out for tikkun. And, like, what's he thinking about, right? And technically, if it's the yelling of the neshama, like, it's true, it should be true in every generation. Meaning the soul, it should be something hidden. It could be hidden, it could be spiritual, but it's to recognize that, to listen to that roar,
to hear that voice from the world, to hear that voice that, you know, mankind wants to be in a place that's not happy where it is.
Exactly.
I mean, we could see it, where the world is today. People, depression, drugs are one of the biggest things, and people aren't living with God, which is the ultimate happiness, you know, which is the ultimate where we're supposed to be.
Right.
And
Exactly.
if your kid thinks that he's happy, right? But you know he's sitting in the dirt. He's stuck somewhere, you know, mamash in the lowest places, and he feels like he's happy. But you can feel, you know, his neshama is crying to get back. So I think that's Rav Kook felt for the world. Like, people are just are lost in their neshamas, which is the pure part of everything in this world. Everything in this world is made up of neshamas, Jews and non-Jews alike. Even Parak Shira, the animals. Everyone's so aching. Everybody wants to get back to the original state of closeness to God. And to hear that, you're saying, is really a tzaddik thing to hear. It's
Yeah, it's a unique perspective. I think, like, he opens the news. What interaction does anybody have with the neshama tziburi? Right? It's probably from seeing a lot of people, right?
reading the news.
Reading the news, right?
Right.
Or hearing, a voice repeating over and over again, or reading, like,
Mm.
leading philosophers of the time, seeing, like, what's coming out, what are the main, common thinkers putting out there, and
Mm.
then saying, oh, what they're doing is they're screaming out for tikkun, right? And in our world, and sometimes it's sort of confusing. Like, what do you mean they're screaming for tikkun? Like, can you believe this? Open the news now. Do you see anybody crying out for tikkun? Depends on, like, what level you're looking at. I think that's, like, I
Sure.
understand it.
My Rebbe, Rav Noach Weinberg Zatzal, he gave us before he passed away, his last will testament of what to do. It was a 3-liner. He said, before you go to bed every night, take 10 to 15 minutes and think about the pain of Hashem's pain, and that the whole world, you know, doesn't know about God, that the Jewish people deny God and truth in Judaism, that people don't know about it. And by thinking about that pain, that people are far from the truth, you really understand that people's pain, that people are very far away. People are in a bad state.
Right. So it's interesting. And there's a jump here, I think, that between the desire for tikkun and the presence of Hashem in someone's life. Right? There's a jump, which I think Rav Kook didn't make yet in this paragraph. He's going to make it in a coming paragraph, about recognizing the power of tshuva and the desire for tikkun as one energy or motive in the world. That's one level. And then that connecting to the idea of Hashem, and connecting to the phenomenon or the belief in Hashem. And those things, like the tshuva, I think in this paragraph, stands on its own non-related type of as a yeshut, as a meaning. I'm not saying to disconnect the ideas. I'm saying you could analyze the soul's desire to move forward as an abstract idea. You can analyze that.
But where are you moving forward to? What would be the goal? Where are you moving forward to then?
Right. So
If you take away God from the picture,
right. So
where are you moving to?
Right. So I think we're not supposed to take God away. The necessary next step is to have God in the picture, 100%, as the creator. He's the creator of the world. Obviously, it's, like, intertwined with this idea, but I think that this idea, let's put it this way. This is the way I interpret this. I'm going to go, like, straight to the malchut, straight to, like, the most practical setting, like Rav Kook sitting. And he's hearing about communism, 1920s, communism. And what does Rav Kook hear? He says the world wants tikkun, right? people are reading the Communist Manifesto and they want Tikkun. There isn't justice in the world. We need a utopia. We need a better world. And Rav Kook is saying that's the soul. The soul is crying out for Tikkun. Now, that went to people who then followed communism and did it without Hashem, you could see what ended up. It's the most cruel way of leading a people in the world, and it's horrible, and it leads to destruction. Sadly, that's what happened in history, right? So, but I think he's still there's like an abstract, clean place where you're just saying like that desire to run to communism, to say there's going to be a utopia where everyone's going to have equality and everyone's life is going to flourish and commit a better world. That itself is tshuva, pushing
Coming
the world,
from desire,
and
for
then it's
sure.
a distortion of that motivation that stepped away from Hashem, and that's where it ends up. That's
For
like
sure.
how I
That's in the big picture of the world. But I mean, in individual, we could go back to the first chapter as well. That somebody who wants to eat healthier, that's the same thing. Everything is this moving forward light. There's all different colored lights for the individual and for mankind, whether it's in the financial market moving forward or, running water and health, roads, every area, not just in religion, everything. It's like it's raining light all the time. I think about like Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur brings tshuva no matter what. It's whether you make yourself a receptacle, how much you'll get. It's raining, if you take out a bucket or you take an umbrella and block it, it's raining tshuva light all the time. It's how much someone can gather on an individual level, on the Jewish people level to feel that, and as in the world to feel it. But it's happening all the time. The rain is coming down. Society's moving with it, pushing for it, and want it like this lioness that's begging for it to move forward. Forward to what? Forward.
right.
Better.
Yeah.
Better. L'takein. People aren't happy with the current status. You could, like you said, lead to cruelty, or other, mistakes that could be made without knowing direct direction of how to channel it. But there's definitely light coming down to move people forward. People want to grow. No one's happy being mediocre. It's universal. Everyone wants to be great, to be better.
Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, secretly, someone could say, I'm happy, but people want to be better.
For a week,
grow.
They'll be happy for a week.
Yeah. Yeah. How long can you do Bet than God for? People want to go, grow, move. So this next paragraph we mentioned before we started, it's a little Kabbalistic, and he brings it in here. It's really a unique place in the book, but we'll try to understand it. Minimal way. We don't want to throw people off. So he says, this is about how to feel it. He said, like, how did Rav Kook feel it? How did he touch it? How do you get in touch? So, I think for a regular person, the way you get in touch with tshuva, like to be aware of it, sometimes you got to just close your eyes. Like, there's a lot going on. You could close your eyes and get in touch with your neshama, get in touch with the feeling of tshuva that's coming through. Stop all the busyness from the world and just, feel God, feel the power of tshuva coming through. Stop the world for a minute. But he has another more practical advice how to do this, Kabbalistically, how to be aware of this sickly type of tshuva. And he says, Bahagut milin, when someone thinks about the words, Efshar lanu levatei hamachshava, we can't even express the thought, Rachavatchkim, how large, like skyscrapers, right? Hazot. Yechudim anachom yichadim, we're going to do something called Yechudim, it's a Kabbalistic terminology, that we're going to unite, B'shemot anu mechavnim. That the original building blocks in Kabbalistic terminology in our world were letters. The first 22 letters that God put his light, the first kalim that came out to build the worlds with letters. And therefore all God's light, including the tshuva light, is within letters. Right? My name David or your name Yosef contains certain light, and that light is actually who you are. It's actually the form and shape and gematria of those letters. Light is as Rav Kook calls it, the susei esh. They're like these horses that hold the light. They're moving forward. So the Torah is full of God's light, the shape and size and how they fit together. And if you could concentrate on the letters and the words and what's inside of them, right? It's not just the form, it has to be the light that's inside the letters. Then you could get in touch with something much deeper. Not just the outer letters, but the light that's within them. And he starts off with the concept of a nikudah. A nikudah, something called olam hanukudim in Kabbalistic terms. Shamayim va'aretz chadashim, the earth, heaven and earth, umloyam utzrisham, are hidden within it. That before the expansion of letters came first dots, nikudot. right? Nukudot, we call it Olam HaNukudim. Everything is inside. You have to get very deep. You could even Nukudot, even of words, everything starts from a small, the garin within a letter is a dot.
Mm.
And an ot, a letter itself, that's when it gets more expanded. Olamim mitgalim, worlds are revealed. And Tevot, if you take a whole, not just a letter, but a word, Revavot olamei ad v'hamon yitzurim. There's worlds and many creations inside, the word Bereshit, Bara Elokim. So when people do Yechudim, when we hear Kabbalists with the sitters, they're doing Yechudim, they're taking certain names of God and thinking about them, putting them together, really concentrating deeply on connecting. The whole Torah is made up of God's names, but every name of God contains the light which is underneath it. And when we concentrate on that light, on those, especially a name of God, a Yichud, we're able to really focus in and get an awareness of this tshuva sichlit, this big concept that we're talking about, this light of the sun, right?
Mm-hmm.
To try to really get a hold of the whole concept, the history and of mankind and the deep light that's within it. I personally find the greatest way to learn Torah first is really go slow through the psukim of the Chumash and really just try to understand, what the word means, but really giving your neshama a minute to really take in the letters and try to give it a moment for your neshama to understand it, not just your mind, just to really meditate on the letters that are going on, that are being written over here. Because within them is shalev, you'll find complete peace. Valez, malei chedvat kelelim, the beautiful, sweet power of God. Malei shom emet, it's full of peace, which is another very high form of God's light and emet in truth. V'neshama holechet umitakenet, and when you do this process of doing yichudim, your neshama could starts to fix itself and do tshuva very quickly. So this is a practical way of doing things for Kabbalists. I would say for us, I think it's just to close your eyes sometimes and think about the universe and the world and where we're heading in these deep concepts, this power of tshuva coming through.
Mm-hmm.
He's giving a very high form of doing it right here.
Well, I think this also it sort of answers my question or what I was observing before about tshuva standing on its own, and then you have to then connect God. So the idea of Yechudim is it stands on the word Yichud, and the idea of Yechudim is to connect to Hashem. It's to bring your soul, become one with Hashem. So it's after you recognize this motivation to have Tikkun, then the way to do that is to lift yourself up, or through the letters, become one with Hashem. And the letters, this reminds me of the idea of Dvekut and the Baal Shem Tov, and really very, very broad subject, what we just read about.
Huge.
It's a huge subject that
we just
a
touched,
lot of people
we
don't
just
really,
touched on
we
it.
barely touched it. But I think that what I understand from it, what I can add is that the idea of Dvekut is sticking to connecting with Hashem. And the Baal Shem Tov talks about that the Tevot of the Torah and the letters, you use them. And the way I understand it is that the letters and the words and language and the Hebrew letters are Hashem wrote them on the Luchot, right? That was the first time my understanding that the Jewish people were interacted with Dvar Hashem, right? In a message of some sort, right? And when they were printed onto the Luchot, it's Dvar Hashem that came down to the world, and our interaction with God's values is through language, right? Without language, we don't have any way of imagining, it's through nature and through the Torah and through the letters of the Torah. That's God sending his messages to us. And when we do these Yechudim, it's us trying to be so sensitive and recognize the deep message of every single dot within those holy letters that God gave us in that language, and maximizing our interaction with that language. That's how I understand it.
Language is not just the way we communicate. It's Romamano Mikol Lashon. He really lifted us up with our language. I mean, every language has, the Shivim nations has some emet, garin of emet in it, but the Jewish, the Hebrew has this amazing power. One time I asked Rav Sasson actually about a sign, a street sign.
Mm-hmm.
Is there Kedusha when I read the street signs? There's not necessarily Kedusha in the otiot of a street sign. But when you're learning Torah, the letters of the Torah, they have the Kedusha. When you speak Torah, they have the Kedusha to really focus in and see the Yichud, or the Devekut that you have with Hashem. Now, I have this, for off topic, but a little mashal. I'm not sure if we even mentioned it here before, but a mashal for Yichud which is that in a traffic light, did I mention this to you before? In a traffic light, there's red, yellow, and green. And how
Yeah.
many light bulbs will we need inside the traffic light? So I think there are 3, but you really only need 1 light bulb. And there's 3 different shades, red,
Like
yellow, and
filters.
green, 3 different filters. And really, the whole world, right, is God's light, but just different shades, different filters. You have 1 light bulb. You have a tree here and an animal here, and
Mm.
David here and Joseph here and the book here, but it's within Yichud. And when you tap into the letters of Torah, it helps somebody to miyached, to recognize the light of God in every situation, that it's all God's light. And this is a way which helps us. I mean, we're trying to get to Teshuva Sichlit, of understanding that the world heading in one direction back to God. It's a deeper understanding of life in the world. And it's more than that. It's like you started off today, that this is the force which gives us life, gives us movement. The same way the sun gives us life, this concept, this light of tshuva that we're trying to get to through the Yechudim, or however we're going to get there through the rest of the book, of getting back towards God. This is what life is. This is the main force of life. So therefore, tshuva is not just something we're doing on Yom Kippur, al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
Mhm.
Tshuva is a concept of what life is all about, everything in life, the light within everything, bringing us back to God. And, how can we not learn the Sefer? I mean, this is, have this understanding of life. It's a life-changing concept.
100%. It's beautiful. Couldn't agree more. Right.